as Element Reptile. So, as you guys know, hello, what's going on? This is me, Element Reptile. Today I'm going to watch this new update coming from CaptureTheMagic.tv. It's on the channel, not Clownfish TV, Capture the Magic. This is something I wanted to see. It says right now to this point on that we're talking about AI. AI is hitting the whole mainstream. AI is officially taking jobs. We all know that. AI, Disney Plus is doing AI, insulting. But in the end, it's going to come in. However, you know what? Let's be optimistic about it. I'll still talk about it. We still got to know the dangers. But at the same time, is it really of a threat? Because in the end, it's someone behind it that's going to use it. Now, I get it. It's going to be soulless. But Capture the Magic has news coming. That is AI, is it true or not? AI is hitting to Universal Studios theme parks. This is my reaction, or my opinion, to theme parks.
What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic. And when you get on the topic of AI, it's usually centered around AI art and whether or not people should or should not be using it. But one aspect that theme parks are already starting to use AI on is in the theme parks, and more exclusively for this video, Universal Studios, as they actually have new patents that will likely come to the parks in the coming years that utilizes AI for ride safety and even guest safety and satisfaction. So in this video, we're going to go through what are these patents and what will this look like in the coming years at Universal Studios, and what other theme parks like Disney and other ones utilize this technology as well. So that is what we're going to talk about in the video today. Now, this article doesn't specifically say AI, but Mark Woodbury himself in a recent investors conference did say that they were going to start utilizing AI in the Universal parks for this very thing. Ride inspections, or even having programs that run that can essentially predict when certain elements of certain rides tend to break down. So it kind of develops a pattern and then basically can alert maintenance and say, hey, this area is about to go out or this needs to be fixed. So a lot of these things can prevent downtime, because not only when something does go down, they can find it quicker and fix it. Therefore, the ride's not down as long. But if you already have software that runs that basically says, hey, this needs to be fixed before this breaks down, you can do these things when the park is closed, therefore not as much rides being down, which obviously is something that, can really ruin somebody's day. If they're on a once in a lifetime trip, they really want to ride a certain attraction, they're only there for one day and it happens to go down. Obviously, that's going to lead to people being disappointed. And also from just a guest flow perspective, you don't want a lot of rides going down, because then, it leads to higher wait times in other areas of the park. So if you're able...
Yeah, so that's one other thing. Yeah, like, yes, use AI for protection. I mean, that should have been happening in Epic Universe. That's what he said. I mean, this technology, if you use it the right way, if you use technology the right way, it is not a weapon of choice. Yes, a lot of these companies these days are pushing AI as a weapon of choice. Disney is going to do this too. SeaWorld, without a doubt, is doing this. Disney, we already know. That's one. Six Flags is thinking of doing that. I know for sure. I think DreamWorks has been doing that too. There's probably Legoland. Yeah, the Lego brand will also do. Um, we'll also do AI too, because that's the new game. But if you use it in security, like what happened, because everybody knows what happened to the poor guy, to the person that died in Epic Universe, that from a month ago, that it has riot safeties and everything's in check. There are now AI is going to be used to check the conditions and functions. Comparing to how it is back then. Even though it is still the same thing. Hey, you need a pilot. You need a pilot to monitor and update it. That is how it is to be. All that stuff. P.S. Catch your breath, sir. I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe. All right? In the end, people say, look, Patents published for new safety technology at Universal's theme parks. That could be all theme parks should be used. I think even train stations should be used. If people AI is being used in hospitals, so that's the good way. That's the good way, rather than exploitative things. It's gonna be, for example, that graphic design is gonna take over my things. But how it is.
Able to prevent ride downtime with technology like this, not only will it help the uptime of the rides, but it's also going to save money. They don't have to send as many maintenance crews out there to go look for hours on something. They can just know exactly what the issue is, already have it ready to go. And so things like this, you're going to start seeing more of this at theme parks. I'm sure Disney has something very similar that they're probably working on, as they are also utilizing AI as well in different ways. So I think you're going to see all these theme park destinations use AI in different ways. Ride maintenance is one of those where I think most people would say, yeah, that's a really good use of it. Another one I think you're going to see, and I think Disney kind of played with this, but I think what they're going to end up doing inside their My Disney Experience app is probably get to a point where that AI that's inside that app is really basically your own personal travel agent, where it can basically just, you tell it all the preferences you want. It can set up, plans, make reservations, and set up things for you to do inside that app as the AI gets better. So Disney kind of already does it. It doesn't work how Disney was wanting it to, but I think in the future it will work much better. Probably have their own language learning model that they'll use for that app. I won't be surprised if Universal does a very similar thing, because if people are able to utilize your app to plan their day better, they're going to end up having a better experience and want to come back. It also leads to needing less manpower in the parks, less people to, be at guest satisfaction places. They can utilize the app for a lot of these things. So it cuts down on the labor cost, but it also, makes things more efficient. And if it helps people enjoy their vacation more, have a better trip, they're going to leave more satisfied and then want to come back. So I think that's another reason you're going to see things like that when it comes to AI. But obviously, one of the first one here on ride maintenance makes a ton of sense. And these are not things that day-to-day guests are going to see, but they are going to start utilizing this technology when it comes to ride maintenance and uptime and downtime for rides and things like that.
Is your cable internet slowing you down? Are you falling a step behind? And are you out of sync?
Now, another utilization of AI that Universal may or may not end up using is one we actually talked about in a video last year, but given this topic, I think it's pretty relevant to talk about yet again, which is Universal has patents for technology to detect line jumping and other disruptive guest behaviors. Now, obviously, bad guest behavior is something that I don't know if it's more prevalent, but it definitely gets more attention now with social media, everybody having a phone. And, from time to time, you see people inside the parks drink too much, behaving badly, fights breaking out, which obviously is going to lead to, other guests being impacted by this and not wanting to be around that. So if there is technology that allows you to basically cut that stuff off or detect it early, that is the whole point of this technology here.
Oh, man. Hey, there's going to be ratchet moments. That's another thing. Security measures is needed and keep the park clean. Well, inevitably it's going to be ratchetry. Ratchetry happens. We all know that. I've seen ratchetry on my behalf from my time, especially in Disney World, which has lots of ratchetry. I'm surprised that Fun Spot hasn't had the last event of ratchetry on Fun Spot was 3 years was just a World Star video 8 years ago. 8 years ago, that was ratchetry. Dieselland, I thought Dieselland was going to have some ratchet moments. Not really. It's clean. It's nice. You would have thought such a place like that. But that's because they have security in AI. That technology is very strict. Thank God, and if you use it such well, it becomes global and astonishing. And that's how things should work. Disney's gonna probably do this. They have their own money. SeaWorld is bent on that. They got their own money out there, man. God damn. Disney World, and it has their own money, and that's for sure. Universal is officially the second largest economy in Orlando. They have their own money right now. Right now, Universal is drowning in Universal owned money. All right, they have money on their own. They got their own government. No joke. They have their own government. at this point. They're building their own government. All right, they're a cartel. Let's just say. Disney World is like a defunct cartel, while Universal is a rising cartel, but a cartel that everybody loves because it's fun and made. Anyways, but security is measured, and that's what AI could be used to detect. That's because sometimes the surveillance cameras, they capture something, but then they're like, I don't want to. They capture and they lag because the cameras are very old now. So they got to update the new cameras over there in Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure and Volcano Bay at times, including, unlike Epic Universe, you're okay. Epic Universe is okay, but they will put AI to it to kind of give more detection and all that kind of stuff. Although they don't want to take it too far because then that becomes a weapon. Do you remember? AI needs to be a tool, not a weapon of choice. Unlike today, it's a weapon of choice.
So it says Universal has filed a patent application for a technology that would place sensors around a theme park. These sensors would use machine learning, which is similar to AI, but you can basically say they're eventually going to use AI in these, to detect unruly guests and track rule breakers with the aim of improving the guest experience for others. The possible technology would utilize many sensors that can detect motion, temperature, sound, smoke, liquid, and more to monitor park areas and rides for disruptive or dangerous behavior. The patent gives many examples, including line jumping, disruptive actions by inebriated guests, smoking in non-smoking areas, and getting out of moving ride vehicles, and more. So this patent was originally filed in 2022. And it said it was updated recently this past year, back in 2024. And Universal has named this technology Amusement Park Interactive Guidance System. In broad terms, the application describes the technology as an amusement park monitoring system comprised of sensor devices configured to acquire data related to one or more individuals within an amusement park, a memory storing instructions, and a processor. The intention is to limit actions by certain guests that may negatively affect the enjoyment of the theme park for others. And here's a little snippet out of the patent that they filed for. It says the amusement park personnel are tasked with monitoring amusement park attractions, guests, and other aspects of the amusement park. An increasing number of amusement parks are employing sensor devices within and or around the park to capture data related to various aspects of the amusement park. It is now recognized that acquired data can be indicative of certain activities and or behaviors. Further, there is a demand for use of such data in deterring or discouraging certain activities and or behaviors, thereby facilitating amusement park enjoyment for guests of the amusement park. Accordingly, present embodiments are directed to an interactive guidance system that detects certain activities and or behaviors performed by one or more individuals and localizes an action to address the activities and or behaviors, thereby limiting an amount of interference with other guest park experiences. It says, for example, data from different sensor devices may be assembled and analyzed to identify certain activities performed by one or more individuals associated with an amusement park attraction. The identified activities may be compared to a behavior model, which may correspond to various behavioral threshold values. This gets very, very nitty-gritty in terms of the things they're talking about in here. Upon determining that a particular activity exceeds preset behavioral threshold values, the system may initiate an action to limit the activity performed by the one or more individuals without impacting other individuals using the amusement park attraction.
Did you know with Capital One, you can see if you're pre-approved for card offers with no impact to your credit score? Don't believe me? Try it.
So I'm not really sure how this would not impede other guests. I'm not really sure exactly what they mean by that, but I think it's obvious if you look at layman's terms here. If you look at somebody who's had, maybe they've had too many drinks, or they got caught cutting in line, or they're also smoking, like these things, it basically creates a profile of a guest in a theme park that would then elicit maybe Universal coming at least talking to them, maybe they're kicking them out.
Okay, I was kicked out of, I was kicked out of Splash Mountain for cutting lines, and then I said goodbye bitches to everyone, and that I was completely banned from Splash Mountain before they turned into Tina's Bayou Adventures. That was a night to be reckoned with sometimes.
out of the park, or maybe just keeping track of their behavior. And then if they have too many of these incidents, there could be some sort of punishment. They're either banned or they're suspended, or something along those lines. But I would assume this would lead to having, if certain guests, probably not every single guest, but if certain guests are continually behaving badly in the parks, it would basically create a profile or a database on that guest, and they would probably monitor them rather closer. Maybe when they come into the park, it flags the system because they use now facial recognition to get into the theme parks. Basically, when you come to the park, facial recognition picks up, oh, this is, John Doe, and he's had some issues the past 3 months, so probably keep a closer eye on him or something like that. So it probably has something to do with that as well. And some examples of this, illustrations and explanations within the patent application discuss several types of sensors that could be placed around a theme park. Each of these sensors includes at least one example of how it could be utilized within a theme park environment, and it's these descriptions that paint a picture for how Universal would intend to use this possible system. They have a motion sensor, and it says, as explained in the example above, a motion sensor could help detect a guest moving on an attraction or even jumping out of a ride vehicle, which could be dangerous for them and other riders. There's a temperature sensor. It says that a temperature sensor could be used to basically detect inebriated guests, which, if you don't know, drinking alcohol actually lowers your body temperature a little bit. I don't know if that's exactly what it's talking about, or if it's the fact of, you can look flushed. I'm not really sure exactly what they mean by that, but apparently this can be used to detect drunk guests. They have a sound sensor, which could detect yelling, cursing, and other disruptions. A smoke detector sensor, because obviously they don't want people smoking in the theme parks. A liquid detector sensor, so it could detect spilled beverages on a ride, so they could clean those up, or other areas of the park. And then they have a camera sensor, which can detect specific motions like fighting, drinking, yelling, running, etc. Guest profiles and tracking. It says, since this document is explaining how a new type of technology would work, part of it explains other components in addition to sensors. One of these components could be for the storage of data. The example given explains how certain individuals could have a guest profile, which we talked about just a moment ago, which tracks and logs their actions during their visit to the park. This information could be used to determine whether it's important to track their actions when they return to the park at a later date as well. In other words, it sounds like the system could keep track of those it deems to be troublemakers. Now, that is one thing that I do think is a useful thing, because as most things go in life, it just takes a few people to ruin the fun for everybody else. So out of 100 people, you got 1 or 2 people that are acting like they shouldn't, but you multiply that over thousands in a theme park, you have a lot of people throughout a day at a theme park that are misbehaving. And instead of creating rules to try and curb that certain type of behavior that also typically has, other implications that are just side effects of that, instead of just doing all of that, you can actually go at the source. And if you have people that are not behaving in the parks on a consistent basis, how they're not supposed to, I'm totally okay with them having a profile and being able to take disciplinary action against those guests. I don't think that is a bad thing necessarily. I also think this stuff probably already goes on some level, but this would...
The only problem concern is maybe, yeah, that is a good thing, but what if it gets too crazy? What if it gets too strict to the point where it starts to track you outside of the theme parks? Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought of that? What if it starts to track you outside of theme parks, out of the theme parks of Universal or Disney World or SeaWorld, Six Flags, what you name it, Knott's Berry Farm to Ocean Park in China to I think Chimelong Sea Park in Zhuhai to Gold Coast, whatever, all theme parks around the world. If they use this, keep in mind, sometimes they can go overboard. And then it might start tracking you outside of theme parks right after you leave. Yes, there will be troublemakers. There will be troublemakers. But you have to consideration that AI enhances, not by us, by itself. That's where the line gets drawn. Like, hey, put a halt to that. So stop that. That's too far. but AI does not have any rules. AI, you could build the rules on AI however you want it, but it does not have any rules.
Use some more technology to probably make, and again, you couple this with AI, this is going to make it almost just instantaneous of having certain logs of certain guest behavior, and if they, continually do these behaviors when they come to the theme parks. Now, the document seems to go out of its way to not use the term artificial intelligence, but it seems that that is what is being described on how it could use learned patterns to determine what types of behavior are outside of normal parameters. I mean, even if it's not technically AI at its inception, eventually these systems will use AI. I mean, combining data from multiple sensor types could help the system determine specific scenarios, like whether or not a guest is too drunk to continue drinking. Automatically compiling data from facial recognition or cameras, the system could count how many beverages a guest has consumed and cross-reference that with data collected by sound sensors that have detected disruptive yelling to determine that the guest is likely in a drunken state. So less drunks in the theme park. I'm okay with that, to be quite honest. Tracking guests allows the system to keep track of how long they may remain in a specific area as well. This could determine if someone is loitering in front of an attraction, spending too much time in a restaurant, or hanging out in a bar too long. Again, another factor in tracking whether someone is drinking too much at the park. Also, they don't talk about this, I'm sure, but another way that they would utilize this type of technology is to see how do people flow through the park. And if they want to figure out ways in which maybe to help make it a better flow or change the way people go, things, they can try different things and use this technology to really see how it is working. And I think that is one way they would use this to see, how does the day-to-day guest on average move through the park? What are the choke points? What are things that we want to catch their attention that it doesn't seem to catch their attention? Like, it can become really useful for them in terms of, are the things that they're implementing in the theme parks in terms of from a theming or attraction or a land standpoint, are they operating how they want it to? When actions could be taken, and this is probably a very important part of this. While a lot of the document talks about how to mitigate drunk and unruly guests, there are some simple practical applications that could be utilized for specific types of attractions as well. One example seems tailor-made for the VillainCon Minion Blast attraction. The document describes a situation where guests are expected to remain in a place on a moving walkway attraction, but may run forward or move too far out of their designated area. If these actions are detected, the system can automatically trigger an automated message over a speaker system or even stop the ride automatically until the guest stops moving in a way that is interfering with other guests. While an automated message or even an automatic way to stop a ride for safety reasons seems like a simple usage for this technology, more complex guest behaviors may require a team member to handle the disruption. In one example, guests may be attempting to jump in line or run in a queue. A possible consequence for these actions in the document is to send these guests back to the start of the line, and repeat offenders would be asked to leave the park or have other restrictions placed on their guest profile.
The best idea for that is for those kinds of guests, because listen, if you want to skip the line, you're doing a group, I think you should stay in the line. Or better yet, you have common sense. You could take the single riders line. You could ride separately, but you can still be together. Usually, guys like me, whenever I go to a theme park, I take single riders to make the lines go faster. Because most big lines these days, people want to go there as a family, as a team. And you don't want to stay in a long, harrowing line for nothing. We have single riders. There's VIPs. So since all these new attractions, like for example, Hollywood Rocket, they have 3 lines. There was the group family line, there's single riders, and then there's the VIP, right? The pass, VIP pass, and those go on. Yes, it gets packed. But yo. You still have, to stay in line, even in the end. That's the law, And yes, I do. I as an individual who can't sit around or can't stand for that long, yes, I would like to have. I have a habit trying to stay comfortable, rather than feeling tired out all day long in the theme park. You're in a theme park. you wait hours. You're like, I can't stand that. Or I get that, but laws are laws, and everybody has to obey them. And that, and for that kind of stuff, that with a lot of stuff that happened out there, people getting arrested and this that, all the stuff. I mean, you don't want another Dueling Dragons failure. Okay, if you guys don't know what happened to Dueling Dragons, why they stopped dueling each other, it's because a lot of kids were throwing stuff at each other simultaneously, and therefore they stopped. They stopped. So it's a way to kind of like get the profile, see, okay, what kind of person it is. Is he an agitator? Is he a good person or not? And that should be, should be tested upon that. And they take it strictly. They take it strictly. They take it strictly on this kind of stuff. And that's the security. And there's a lot of lists. That's a lot of lists. On the other hand, that is a lot of goddamn lists. That's a lot of goddamn lists.
Automatically by the system. Now, I think the thing that people would be a little iffy about is these things being placed automatically. Let's say the system detects something that you actually weren't doing, and do these things end up having a profile without someone overlooking them? And we see this all the time with AI, where it's not right all the time. It detects things, or it finds something that actually isn't there. So personally speaking, I'm all for it as long as there's some safeguards in place, not just AI making decisions about somebody being banned from the park and not being able to talk to anybody about it. That doesn't seem like a great thing. But if there are safeguards in place, people can review these things. I think it can be a pretty good usage of the technology there. So essentially, the rest of the article just talks about different scenarios in which this can be used. But even though they're going out of their way to say this is not AI, I mean, obviously, if you can look at this, if it's not AI now or when it's implemented, it eventually will use AI. So AI is going to be used in the theme parks in the future.
Is the new Kling O1 on Artlist the smartest video generation model available? It just might be.
And maybe you're like, Jared, how would you know that? Well, Boardwalk Times had a post here in late October that said Universal Orlando Resort is currently looking to hire a director of artificial intelligence technology. The job would provide end-to-end technical leadership for the design, development, and deployment of AI and automation initiatives across the enterprise. So this could be a lot of different things, but obviously if they are hiring a director of artificial intelligence, they're going to start utilizing it more in the theme parks, and not just when it comes to, people think about AI art, but this is not just AI art. This is going to be anywhere from office jobs with making that much more streamlined and efficient, but it's also going to be in the theme parks as well. So we're just in the beginning stages of really what theme parks will do with AI. But I think when you look at Universal and what they're doing, and it seems, again, I haven't seen anything come out about Disney utilizing AI in the theme parks like this quite yet. But Universal is moving to be able to use AI and these machine learning systems in their theme parks to create a better guest experience, have more ride uptime, be able to fix these rides quicker, detect safety issues, and also deal with unruly guest behavior that obviously is going to impact guest experience. So I think if you're utilizing AI in this way, that the whole purpose of it is to create a better experience for your day-to-day guest, I think that potentially is a very good thing. Now, obviously, these systems just have patents. They haven't implemented any of these systems quite yet. But Mark Woodbury, again, has openly said they're going to start using AI more. And again, they are hiring a director of artificial intelligence. So they're definitely going to start doing this. And I think you give this probably even 2 to 5 years, this is going to become a very normal thing in theme parks, that there is AI detection of various things throughout the park, with the end goal being to increase the guest experience and, deal with potential issues that come up. You can't have cast members and team members everywhere throughout a park. So this type of system, like we were talking about just now, if you can detect bad guest behavior, it can alert team members or cast members, send them over there to deal with it in a much more efficient manner, versus relying on maybe other guests going to get somebody to say, hey, this person's being unruly, or a team member happens to come across it. You can have real-time information and alerts on these things. So as iffy as people are about AI, I think really when you look at it, AI is not going to go anywhere. Basically every company out there is going to utilize it on some level. And when you're talking about theme parks, these are two very specific instances where I would say I don't see a lot of the downside of using AI or machine learning in these situations. I mean, if you can use AI to make rides safer, have less downtime, deal with unruly guests, I think these are things that most guests would be perfectly fine with. Now, of course,
What he's about to say, he's about something to say.
there's going to be, like we said, it creates a profile of somebody. Like, are there false positives? Like, is there human review? Like, these things need to have some safeguards there because nowadays when there's a major issue that pops up in a theme park, someone drinks too much, gets in a fight, or whatever. You see this.
There's going to be blackmail. That's another thing he has to be concerned of. There's going to be probably blackmail. They're going to use blackmail on this kind of stuff. There's a lot of ways AI is used on one way, but there's a lot of times that AI is going to be used on many different ways. AI has probably been thought about already before. I think last year this has happened. That AI have been people using deepfakes. People have been using deep voice by artificial intelligence, and it gets scary. It gets scary how that what if the wrong hands and the wrong people start to hack into AI, and people can hack. People can hack, right? And they do the deeds of profiling and all that stuff, malnourished, or they can just reverse and turn off the security with AI itself, and you can stay anonymous. There's many ways that AI can be used as a weapon, but if it's used by the right hands, when it comes to security, safety on both sides, on public safety, to surveillance, to service safety, and to ride safeties. That is could be going so on. Let's stop talking about the world ending and think about the good things about this. Let's think about that. And I think that is he has a lot to say, all that good stuff. I think that is the best way to say it. I mean, I intentionally have it's kind of like its own shenanigans to say it again. Once like I said, AI, if it's used right, you can do the right things to it, keep it security. That is the way to be. But that is, that it is today. I think I did my shows on this way. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm Element Reptile. We'll see you. You bless, baby.